Great. Thank you. There we go. Roseanne, you've been involved in this for a while now, right? You've seen a lot of trends in your career in the technology sector, in the business sector, and the evolution of this and economic development. So explain some of the trends that are occurring in Philadelphia and some of the trends that should be, that are not occurring in Philadelphia relative to some of the other markets or regions of the country.
Well, let me address it this way. There's concern across the country, really, and so it's not just in Philadelphia, that there has been a disruption of the innovation pipeline, that those factors that used to be there to support technology development, commercialization, and entry into the marketplace have been disconnected from each other. And the concern is that there isn't an obvious model coming forth, whether it's in Philadelphia or elsewhere, that brings these together. So at the national level, I sit on the National Council for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and the focus there is on these issues, looking at the disconnects and the disruption in terms of capital, the disruption in terms of the processes that used to be in place to support commercialization, and the process and really the absence of an understanding and support generally and widely in communities for entrepreneurship and for innovation. It's very disparate and very uneven. So what do we mean? So if you take a look at what existed in the post-World War II period, where you had sort of vertically integrated research and development institutions, you had a very close connect between the developer of the technology and those who were going to develop the market for it in one place. And so you had the development of the technology being informed from the very beginning by the market forces. What's happened over the years is that the development of the technology has sort of migrated into the universities that really don't have any connect at all in terms of a market understanding. And you have corporations that have absented themselves from the R&D function altogether. Then you have organizations like us who are trying to provide this bridge in the middle to connect the two with very weakly supported programs and efforts, which all used to happen within the confines of an organization. So over the years, the venture capital funds you've seen grow, you've seen shrink, as they've sort of initially were created and targeted those developments that were coming out of those vertically integrated R&D institutions. They got disconnected from that and then began to focus on the high growth, high return prospects, got larger and larger and larger. And so the thinking is, are we really supporting hardcore innovation, or are we right now just working off of the investments of the past and really not supporting the basis for innovation that's going to carry us over the next 20 years? So whether it's in Philadelphia or elsewhere, we're seeing that discussion and folks trying to find different ways of dealing with it. GPIC, the Greater Philadelphia Innovation Cluster, is one effort to try to reconnect these pieces, the research and development, the market, and the people in between.
So Stephen, do you agree with that? And you're shaking your head, yes, but do you agree with that? And tell us a little bit about how you think Philadelphia can differentiate itself from, sort of hotbeds like Boston and
Right.
The West Coast and San Francisco.
Sure. I think I absolutely agree with Roseanne. I mean, there's a need for what I would call innovation intermediaries, okay? From the supply of technology to the demand for the technology, the supply coming mainly from the research in universities that really needs to be translated and harvested into marketable technology that will be bought by either venture capitalists or bought by large corporations. Now, Philadelphia, I think, to Bill's point, is exactly the right size city to pilot a lot of efforts. Okay, I think we were all greatly disappointed when Google selected Kansas City, of all places, for their broadband prize.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
None
of us up here voted. I can tell you that right now. But Philadelphia, fifth largest city, major metropolitan center, would be perfect to pilot, whether it's broadband technology or the collaborative efforts to bring the buyers and sellers of technology into the marketplace, which is really, at the end of the day, what Roseanne and my organizations do together. All right, it's a marketplace that's very inefficient, where the buyers and sellers don't even know where they are and don't know what they're buying. And so people need to bring them together, and that's essentially what our organizations do. Now, what's the strength of the regions? It's our education, it's our great hospitals and healthcare systems, it's life sciences, it's pharmaceuticals, and as Roseanne said, the model for developing drugs today and new therapies is broken. All the major pharmaceutical companies are consolidating and divesting themselves of very early stage research, and that forces it back into the universities, and that makes the role of the intermediary even more important. So the way we can distinguish ourselves is taking our very, very unique assets, education, medicine, life sciences, among others, and putting them to work to create new models of innovation and new ways of spurring jobs and growth through startups.
Yeah, please follow up. Yeah.
I want to agree with both of you with respect to pharmaceutical or life sciences or that kind of product where, you know, sort of the old intermediaries are gone and there needs to be a new model that's looked at because it's very cost intensive to get something to market in the first place, et cetera. With respect to sort of keeping young people here and growing smaller technology companies and innovation in terms of you know, whether it's providing apps or database research or other stuff, I think that there's huge disintermediation in that market, and venture capitalists are becoming far less relevant because it costs so much less money. I was CEO of a company in 2000, and to bring a product to market probably spent $16 million for a software product. Today, I could probably replicate that for a couple $100,000. And you know, because the tools are so much easier to use, it's so, and the places where you can sell those products are now, you can sell it immediately on Apple if they accept your app. You can sell it immediately on Amazon or other venues. And so we have to figure out a way to attract and keep people who don't need to be anywhere and make them want to be here, as Mike Worth's quote is perfect for that.
Right, I completely agree with that. You know, at the end of the day, places are about where you work, where you live, and where you play, all right? And Philadelphia should be all of those things, all right? But in the case of electronic technology and how do you really create businesses around that, I actually think video gaming and media arts are a place that can really grow in Philadelphia. And we have some very unique assets at Drexel University and the University of Pennsylvania, some of the best stop-action movie facilities really on the East Coast, and that's the kind of thing that'll keep, I think, you know, companies interested in staying here. Look at the success of companies like Zynga, you know, with Farmville. Those of you who have annoying friends on Facebook that constantly use Farmville, right? This is not just play. This is large business and large wealth creation, and I think Philadelphia should be a hotbed for that.
We're seeing that, but I think what we also need to look at is, you know, what we've seen with our companies in the IT arena is the need for us to go earlier, smaller in some cases, but then, and I think we learned this through Dream It as well, there's not that follow-on financing that is necessary to take these companies the next step fast enough here in the region, folks willing to write that check, even if it's the $200,000 check. And then you've got sort of this plateau, and then you need the serious investor. And so what we've got to do is make sure we've got a sufficient continuum of financing to keep that company in play here until that larger amount comes in place. We have the larger amounts. We don't have the smaller amounts. We don't have necessarily the investors comfortable with some of these newer arenas to write that check and feel comfortable with that sector because they don't understand it. So that's part of the issue.
I'd almost argue that we'll never be back to that old model, that there's complete disintermediation in that market, and the people are going to bootstrap these companies to a point where they're successful or not, and then get a big dollar for them or not.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we're absolutely